Well, hello. Welcome to Soul Garden Podcast, the Other Sheep series, episode 2, brought to you by Soulflower LLC. All of our social media handles will be presented for you at the end of this conversation. We just want to do a few disclaimers before we get started. First of all, the music that you hear in the background is not our music. Do not be fooled. We just wanted to add a calming element to the background of our podcast. So those backgrounds will vary, and more than likely, we won't own the rights to that music either. So uh, let it be officially stated that we don't own the rights to this music. What we do own the rights to is this podcast and the presentation itself. So that's that on that. Again, the other sheep are those who are unconventional, those who lead unconventional lives. Or if you want to live an unconventional life, we're definitely out here for you. Um, Basically, this is just a conversation of a variety of topics that we've encountered along the way on our journey. Let's go into our other disclaimers because we got to do all of it because of who we are as people. So here is who the podcast is not for. We're not the most formal, as you can see already. If you're looking for that, number one, this is not for you. If you think you're somehow beyond the people, places, or things associated with Self-Flower LLC, this podcast, the material of this podcast, whatever's associated with whatever's going on right here, right now, now's your chance to leave. You got the right to feel the way that you do. We're not upset with you at all. In fact, we wish you peace and that peace always be with you. This is not a religious or spiritual podcast. It has religious and spiritual connotations to it. However, it is not a spiritual or religious podcast. This is a soul consciousness podcast, which means it's all inclusive of all the experience of all sentient beings that are listening to this podcast. So we specifically reach out to and reach out for who we call the other sheep, which are the people that live non-conventional lives that are pretty much what we call different. However, this is, like we said, a soul consciousness podcast where it is inclusive of everyone. Let me move on. All subjects are for learning and unlearning purposes for personal growth only. We're not attempting to convert you. We're lifelong seekers, students on life, and educators. We're not total experts on these subjects either. So if you know something that we don't know, then kudos. You know it. And I'm glad that you do. And I'm glad that I know what I know. It's all good. It's all good. But we're not total experts over here. So uh, that's that on that. This is our sacred service. We're just putting our 2 cents in so you can take what resonates with you. By resonate, we mean whatever stands out to you that you feel like will benefit you moving forward. If it doesn't benefit you, then it takes no change out of your pocket at all. You can leave the rest. All right. Here's who the podcast is for. It's for you to decide who you are in light of the information that we putting on the table here for your own personal growth. Now, granted, you may be triggered. I'm not going to discount that at all. It's going to be cussing. It's going to be grammatically incorrect words and phrases. And it's going to be adult topics discussed. If that's an issue, I completely understand. We completely understand. Peace be with you, and you can close on out. Okay, something else we need to say. The podcast is not for people that are under 18. Not even a little bit. So, parents, you address accordingly because I've done my part right here. As you can see, I did not put part on this joint. And it's going to stay on here as is. If you disagree with this material, whether we can stand to be corrected or you can, please be advised that you have a right to disagree, but you do not have the right to block the exposure of this material or the opinions on this platform that we were sent to create. Again, we are being obedient. Obedience. This is not something we're doing for attention. Lastly, don't get scammed out here. There's people from WhatsApp and they creating, fake pages and doing all that who shot John. We're not gonna reach out to you. Soulflower LLC does not reach out to you. We advertise on our platforms, but we do not reach out to you. So don't get scammed by WhatsApp or Facebook, TikTok, or wherever you see us at. Because we ain't reaching out to you. We ain't sliding in your DMs. So you got to come to us. This is a service, a sacred service. All right. With that being said, we can get on into our topics, and those are the fertilizer. Integrity is everything. We're gonna talk about some soul cultivation tools, soul growth cultivation tools, the right to self mastery, liberal education on spirituality, and mastery learning. Again, before we get started, this is for those that live an unconventional life. Unconventional covers a lot of spaces and places, okay? But in particular, who we're speaking to are those people that know that there is more to life than what it appears to be. Those are the people that we're reaching out to. That you know in your bones that there's more. There's more to you, there's more to life, there's more to what you can experience in your life. Outside of what you've been taught program, influence, inspire to believe, accept, whatever. That's the other sheet. And I will continue to work on that definition throughout our conversation. But usually people that are in this immense group, they're searchers, they're seekers. They are always learning. They're like sponges for information, in particular for things of personal growth and self-development. A lot of times these people have experienced a lot of trauma. Trigger warning. Life has not been kind to them. They tend to be older than they look, wiser than they look. They tend to have to grow up early. Those are the people that we're reaching out to. And that's why we have these topics on up for discussion for today. So let's get started. We're going to start with integrity. Now, yeah, I put it as a growth cultivation tool. But this is just the essence of growth, any type of growth. It's the fertilizer. Without integrity, you don't have anything. Without integrity, you are in violation of a lot of the laws of the universe. So, integrity is for me in my path, and I've been on a self-development, well, really a spiritual path for 24 years now, since 1999. And integrity has been a very, very huge chunk. I would say the foundation of my path. And that is how I grow as a person. Again, this is not a spiritual or religious podcast. These concepts will help anyone going through any experience. I don't know any experience that integrity cannot assist with. So that's why it's one of the biggest things and that I will always discuss will be integrity. We'll have a lot of discussions about integrity because it's so important to have. It's so important to practice. I cannot stress too much how integral this is to your growth as a person. Um, I'm off track here. But yeah, integrity is basically, for me, integrity is telling myself the truth so that I can see things the way they are, not the way I want them to be. We got a lot of definitions of integrity, but that one is what fits me the best. Um, I also want to throw out there, because I have this term on this presentation, soul growth cultivation. The context that I'm using that in is so-called growth cultivation is doing what I need to do for myself in order to grow, in order to be okay, in order to be my authentic self. So that's what soul growth cultivation is in the context of this conversation. And integrity in the context of this conversation is telling yourself the truth so that you can see things the way they are despite what you want them to be. In other words, what the presentation is presenting to you, it says integrity, the choice between what's convenient and what's right. A lot of times, what's convenient is not always what's right, and that's just some free wisdom there. I have a boss that he says that what you need to do to grow is usually buried in what you don't want to do. And integrity helps you to do what you don't want to do. And sometimes that's telling the truth about a situation that may affect how you want people to see you. But integrity is about maintaining a practice of authenticity. It's about knowing what's going on with you, knowing what's true for you. That's one level of it, self-integrity. And then there's integrity with others. But I've found in my walk that when I have integrity with myself, when I'm telling myself the truth about what's going on with me, what's going on around me, then I don't have a problem with integrity with others. And I found out in this walk that a lot of our resistance, which we'll talk about later, to integrity is the fact that we think that the truth is going to inconvenience us in some way, or it's going to affect us in some type of, we'll have some type of negative outcome. But the opposite is always true. There might be some discomfort with integrity. Usually it's because you have to backtrack from not having any integrity. But once you have integrity, moving forward, you don't have to worry about any hang-ups when it comes to having integrity. So things get really simple. Benefits of how it works for me: more happiness, more peace, especially inner peace. Inner peace is a underrated wealth. Healthier relationships, personal growth. If you're into spiritual stuff, spiritual growth. If you're into religious stuff, religious growth. Firm foundation to build anything. Self-esteem, confidence, security, stability. It's a great moral and ethical compass because when you're in your integrity, you're not betraying yourself. You're not doing anything that will be detrimental to the self. You're doing what is for the highest good of the self and the highest good of all. So that's why it's such a great benefit to us in our life experience. Integrity gives us a strong sense of self. It teaches us how to take responsibility for our actions, and it assists us in making informed decisions in our lives. In other words, it's a form of protection from self-betrayal and self-destruction. And those are two things that we do not want to occur on our personal growth, personal development path or practice. All right, next one, willingness. Another huge soul growth cultivation too. Willingness. I had such a great teacher on willingness. I used to go to these classes. I was a part of this organization called LIGHT. LIGHT stood for Leadership Institute for Transformation and Empowerment. And I had, in this organization, particular organization, had uh, two two people that were over it, two owners, a man and a woman. And the lady is the one that presented the concept of willingness to us. I can't teach it that way. I can't even have a discussion with you in the way that she taught it. It was awesome. I wish I could have recorded it. But willingness is the ability to see another perspective, the ability to consider another perspective outside of our own. A lot of times we think our world is how the world works. And that's not how shit is designed here. We have our personal world, our personal, like space, our home, our relationships, all of that. And then outside of that, we have society, the world, which we call the collective. So we have our individual world and we have our collective world. The collective world is who we are as uh, a neighborhood, a city, a county, a state, a country, and it goes all the way to global, galactic, universal, so on and so forth. So that's how that works. But I lost my train of thought. Where was I? It's gonna come back to me. I was talking about willingness being the ability to consider another perception outside of our own. And I was speaking about how we think that our individual world is how the collective world works. And that's not the case. Just because that's what you do in your world, for instance, I'll give a personal example. Just because I'm an introvert, just because I stay in the house and I enjoy staying in the house, that doesn't mean that everybody is going to stay in the house or everybody's going to want to stay in the house. We have people that exist called extroverts. They're not wrong. They don't deserve to die. They don't, and they do deserve to exist because they want to be outside. And they get their energy from being outside and interacting with people and being social. They're not wrong because of that. So that's an example of how you can impose your individual values, your individual ideas of how things should be onto the collective, onto your community, so to speak. I hope that made sense. I feel like it had a couple of holes in it, but if you got any questions, you have the ability to email us at soulflowerinc@gmail.com. and I'll clarify anything that you might have been confused about. I might have cast any shadow of ambiguity on willingness, but only willingness. The benefits is goal achievement, success. It strengthens your free will choice, and it grants you the power to create your own destiny, which is very powerful. It too, willingness too is essential for all forms of growth, and we just have to face it. Flexibility is a requirement, but we have to be willing with balance of boundaries. And those boundaries have to be within the context of what we know to be true for us in healthy, healing ways. Don't get ignorant out there. We're not making excuses. We're having integrity. There's a difference. There's a difference. So that's uh, the willingness concept. It's just having an open mind, being willing to see another perspective in order to grow, in order to expand and have more meaning. The next growth cultivation tool is consistency. I like the quote: "We become what we want to be by consistently being what we want to become each day." So, excuse me, this soul growth cultivation tool is a practice. It's most definitely a practice. It's a verb. Consistency is doing something despite how we think or feel about it. Now, this is in balance with our integrity because I know for me, I have to have integrity or I'll keep going. I'm one of those people that have worked myself in the ground. So I have to have integrity about whether or not I need to be consistent on the thing or not. That might not be your issue. You might be on the other end of the spectrum, looking for excuses not to be consistent. But using your integrity will determine where you are in this space. You just have to have balance, but consistency is a practice, and it's a strong practice when it comes to personal growth. The benefits are recovery, clarity, an increase of self-confidence, attractiveness in the context of you become attractive to what you desire. For example, if you're actor or actress, you may come across a literary, well, not literary, but acting agent that is interested in you, that's becoming attractive to what you desire. And consistency keeps you motivated. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Consistency is like exercising. It's like exercising. You have to, well, exercising requires consistency, but I'm using exercising as an example of something that we all are advised to do for our health. And being consistent in our personal development and goals is for our health. That's consistency. Next one, gratitude. Gratitude is the practice of being thankful for everything. And by everything, I mean everything you can notice to be grateful for. All the little things. Grateful for breathing. Grateful that your pinky toe still moves. Grateful that you can stand up. The things that we take for granted. Grateful that we have clean water. They're grateful that we have different temperatures of water. That we even have a choice for water. That's an example of being grateful. Grateful to wake up in the morning. That was a big one with me growing up. I grew up in uh, religious upbringing, strict religious upbringing, and that was a part of my prayer every single day. Still a part of my prayer. Grateful that I woke up. Gratitude also is the practice of seeing the silver lining in all things. And this is the silver lining that releases us from being stuck in whatever negativity that surrounds us in any and all situations. So it's an underrated superpower. It really is. It's also a very, very big vibration raiser. If you want to get out of a bad mood, sing your favorite song. Do your favorite dance. Or do a list of things that you're grateful for. The effects are immediate. The harder it is for you to find something to be grateful for, the more you need to practice. It is the fuel of wealth. We can't have anything without being grateful for what we already have. So the benefits of gratitude is mental health improvement. You focus on the good outside of yourself. You know, we all are programmed to notice the negative first. And that's an evolutionary addition for our survival instinct because, you know, we're not the biggest things on the planet. So we had to, but we are one of the smartest things. So we had to come up with a mechanism for surviving, you know, this harsh environment. And gratitude was one of the ways that we've done that. A lot of cultures, in particular the African American culture, they have pretty much mastered gratitude on a lot of levels. Uh, they haven't made it optimal yet, but they have mastered gratitude on a certain level. Let's see what else for gratitude. It's something you can practice anytime. It's a win-win situation. I've already said that it was immediate things you can do. You can do a gratitude journal. That hasn't worked out the best for me. Uh, Gratitude practice is better for me routinely, like when I wake up before I go to bed, stuff like that. But you have to find out what's best for you. But in order to do that, you have to practice. So just get started and find out where it can take you. But what I know for sure is that is going to take you up. You'll never go down with gratitude. All right, so detachment is the next soul cultivation tool. I personally think this is the antidote to codependency. But that's just me. Detachment in this conversation, the context is the practice of letting things be what they are instead of attempting to control them or to control the outcome in some kind of way. Or detachment can be anything that can cause us to react instead of respond. Because anything that causes you to react instead of respond controls you and it has power over you. So it's best to obtain mastery of this skill. And in mastery of this skill, it assists us in accepting what we deserve instead of what we believe we deserve, which is less than our true value. Okay, y'all. Looks like I lied to y'all in the first podcast. Looks like this. I'm gonna try to shoot for 45 minutes. But let me move through these tools. The benefits for me, how they work for me is less anxiety, increased mindfulness, increased self-awareness, less negativity, better boundaries, and it puts me in a position to less likely judge others. And there's another tool that helps with that called shadow work. We'll talk about that later. We need to move on. Soul growth cultivation to this next is free will choice, and that's just choice. I like this quote because that's what free will choice reminds me of. If you don't like where you are, move. You're not a tree. This is one of the most underrated power moves. It's the ability to change our mind at any given moment. If we sit and just meditate on that, it is very powerful. And it takes away all our excuses to being whatever we want to be. I believe that this is a part of our divine grace because I do have a spiritual practice. Um, this, hands down, says that we have the opportunity to create the life that we want. And it's also the gift to us that we don't have to stay slave to old ideas, old versions, old experiences, and past experiences of ourselves and others. We can let all of that go by just making a choice and sticking to it. Consistency. All right, let's move on. The right to self-mastery. We all got a right to exist and thrive. We all have that right because we all have life. Using all of our soul cultivation tools, we can create a path to our own authenticity. And that's the goal of self-mastery, is to be authentic. Now, the soul growth cultivation tools in collaboration with inner work and shadow work will bring you to self-mastery. Inner work, we'll talk a lot about that. Inner work is what the other sheep are about. Inner work and shadow work. That is the core of what we practice. And inner work is the work we do to heal ourselves of any harmful effects from our life experiences. If you hear anything in the background, it's our rabbits. I don't know why, but one of them, we have two, Milo and Clover, and I'm in the room with them. And I don't know what's happening, but one of them is kicking something around in their kennel. So if you hear it, I apologize in advance, but I can't do anything about it. All right, so we define inner work as the work we do to heal ourselves and to heal any harmful effects from our life experiences. Shadow work is working on all the shit we've ignored, allowed, suppressed, repressed, denied, rejected, and anything else we didn't know what to do or how to deal with it. So all the shit you don't want to face, shadow work. You don't know how to face. It's shadow work. And we'll talk about all that later. We gotta move on because we're at 41 minutes. Alright, so how we reach self-mastery is through liberal education. I've tried many different practices and paths in my 24 years, and this has been the most effective for me. It's been the most effective for me because I don't fit in any cookie cutter like thing, community, anything like that. I was pretty much rejected from most of for leadership anyway, for the religious community. The spiritual community, there was a whole nother monster. But as far as religion, it's exclusive. So at the time that I was trying to be in leadership for religion, which was in the early 2000s, they still wasn't allowing women to be in leadership like that. So I left and went to the spiritual communities around 2008, and that was a whole nother monster. We'll talk about that later. But in that, and through the organization that I spoke about earlier, I learned that for me and for people like me, it is best for us to get liberally educated. By that, it means you pick the subject and you go with it. It's an education that comes from diverse schools of thought, practice, disciplines, and so forth. And then you take that information and you determine how you want to be, who you want to be, how you want to live your life. That's what a liberal education can afford you. I'm gonna go over 45 minutes, y'all. My bad. If you're still with me, I appreciate you. And may you get a positive return for your patience and for your listening. And I'm glad that what I'm saying interests you. But back to this liberal education thing. It kind of reminds me of, I like Kung Fu movies. I grew up with Kung Fu movies. My dad, he watched a bunch of Kung Fu movies when I was growing up. And that's how I kind of fell in love with it. And but the ones I loved in particular were the ones that they, of course, like with Kung Fu, they have different styles that they do in martial arts. Like it ain't just one style. It's not just karate. Karate is a whole different thing. Um, they have different. It's called martial arts, which it is. It's a physical art. It's beautiful. It's like weaponized dancing, but they have these different schools, and a lot of times you became a master if you practice long enough the skill of the skill set of that particular martial art. So that's how you become a master or a sensei or just leadership within that. Well, I was watching the kung fu movies where they would combine different practices, and that's how they would overcome their adversaries. They would overcome their adversary that way. So, I can, being liberally educated from a personal development perspective to that. It's like getting a diverse arsenal of tools that you can use to keep yourself balanced in healthy, healing ways, but it's not subject to just one discipline, one religion, one spiritual practice. You glean from all of them respectfully. Don't disrespect anyone's culture now. I take the universals and utilize those things to diversify and create a type of mastery in as far as self discovery and personal development goes for myself. And it keeps me balanced. So now you know why we're talking about that. And that may help you too. It may help you too. It might be something that you haven't considered. Okay, so I mentioned in the last episode that I have a master's of arts in teaching. And within that I learned how to write curriculum. And in our training we learned about different modes of learning. And mastery learning is a mode of learning in the academic arena, but it's not practiced because that's not the agenda of the state and the feds. So um, I took this learning modality and applied it to my personal development practice, my spiritual practice too. And the benefits of that is that it gives me the grace that I need. I come from a Christian background, which is a shame based, guilt based experience for me. So, mastery learning assists me with that programming. It also keeps me on my toes because I'm self managed that way, self initiated, and self led. And I believe that is the best way and the best model for people that live unconventional lives, people who are different, who identify with being different, who not into what the trends are, but are dedicated to improving themselves on whatever level that is: mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, financial, whatever. Mastery learning will help you. All right, so let's talk about the benefits. The benefits, you address what you want immediately. So if something bothers you immediately, you can face it immediately. You learn the way that you learn. So you're basically teaching yourself. You have higher achievement. You build good study habits because you got to research this shit and find out which ones work best for you. And then you got to build a routine around that shit. So I mean, it's the goat to be. It's a power move, and it helps you to mastery learning. It helps you achieve self mastery, which is the ability and the choice to be obedient. And this is spiritually speaking, and why I'm doing a sacred uh, service of a podcast. So that's that on that. Now the cons are, if you're not self motivated, you're gonna burn out. So you gotta have integrity. You can't get lost in all the info because it's a wealth of info out there now. And that could be dangerous. You don't want to get a hold of information too soon or too late. You know, you really got to feel it out. Everything's on you because there's no one to give you direction. Now you can go get a mentor, to assist, a life coach, life purpose coach. You can get people to assist you, but ultimately the responsibility for your well-being falls on you, which is one of the main traits of the other sheep. They are very independent. Okay, well, that's that on that. If you have any questions or comments, email us at soulflowerinc@gmail.com. All of our social media handles, which is right now is just YouTube and Facebook, are available. You can go to www.soulflowerllc.com and sign up for some of our sacred services. We do inner work training, married couples. We officiate all over the United States. We do marriage couple planning, help you come up with couple plans. And we do meditation, teaching, and Dharma. We also do self-mastery readings. That's guidance on the inner work you need in order to become who you want to be in this lifetime. So we also, I forgot to say this in the last podcast episode. We also have a program called the New Tomorrow Collective. It's 12 weeks of inner work training and meditation teaching. So you can also sign up for that. I'll probably do a separate video for that. Yeah, I'll do a separate video for that. But all our the only payment methods we have right now are PayPal and Venmo. We used to have Cash App, but I just learned that Cash App is no longer an option for businesses. So that's that on that. But we are on YouTube, we are on Facebook, and we can't accept payment through Venmo and PayPal at this time. If you have anything else like Zelle, just let us know, and we'll work with you. All right, that's all we got for you. We'll see you again next Sunday. I think I'm putting these out on Sunday night, but I don't know. It's gonna be random. That's all I know, and that's all I can tell you is what I know. So until then, till we meet again, live free, die well, and take care of yourself.